this is a problem, but I don't have to follow your bullet. I don't have to do your bullets, but I don't have to follow that outline, do I?
That is always an excellent way to structure a paper.
Okay, okay.
It's easy for me to follow and grade.
Okay, okay. Then that's fine, because I guess in my thought process, finding a leader, what are his dominant traits? I don't know, for some reason that came to me kind of to do something last, because the person I had picked is
Hello, everybody.
Hey, John.
Is more of a transformational.
I see.
But that does fall behind. I mean that. Okay. I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, this one's stumping me a little. I'm not gonna lie. Normally I turn my assignments in on Friday. This one's gonna probably come Sunday or Monday.
Well, that's fine. John, we're talking about the week 4 paper. Any questions from you, John? Well, wait. Let me go through my canned presentation. In case there's anything that might strike you as fodder for a question for you, because it's past 6 o'clock. So let's get going with it. I'm going to share my desktop with you. Let me know when you see my desktop, please.
Got it here.
Mine says loading.
Should be done soon.
Got it.
Okay, great. Let me get the PowerPoint up. Welcome to the week 4 live session, and you are being recorded. And I was heartened to hear, or read rather, comments from several students who did not attend the live session, but who watched the recorded session and said it was helpful to them. That's the whole purpose. So what we're going to do tonight, we'll take roll, nominally take roll. We'll look at week 4's objectives, and we can talk about week 4's assignment. And if you want to talk about future assignments, or that's fine, and we'll talk about anything else you'd like to. So, John and Brandy, welcome. That's me. Anybody ever hear of In-N-Out Burger?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm wearing my In-N-Out Burger Texas t-shirt there. And
that's awesome.
I live in El Paso, and we don't have In-N-Out Burger here, but Texas does in the metroplex.
Clearly you're a Charger fan.
Well, I was, John, until they started with the kneeling business, and then I chucked all my NFL stuff because I don't like people messing with patriotic things like the flag and anthem. But this is not a class in politics, so I'm just explaining. Okay, what are you laughing at, Brandy?
Because I just love you. And I was thinking about this. I was like, I will probably not have him in any other of my classes, and that just really stinks.
Well, we're at question time. Do either of you have any questions? Brandy, we talked a little bit about the week 4 assignment. John, anything from your end?
Nothing yet. I'm okay at the moment.
Okay, Brandy, any other questions about week 4? Don't mind you thinking out loud.
No, I'm just going to follow your advice of using the bullet points as the outline of the paper and just follow it and, do my best.
So
that's exactly what I do.
Students who see this presentation when it's recorded, Brandy had asked about how to structure the week 4 paper and whether or not it should be structured along the lines of the bullet points of the assignment, which I'm going to go to now. So you can see here the bullet points describe at least 3 different types of behavioral leadership approaches and so forth. This is an excellent way to structure your paper. It's logical, it's easy for you to complete your paper in sections, and it's easy for me to grade it. So you would do well to do the same thing, those of you who see this recording. Okay, back to my PowerPoint presentation. So week 4 objectives, and this is leadership week, differentiate among leadership theories. And you've seen some since the class began, and you're going to get a lot in week 4's readings if you haven't already. And there's just a wealth of different ways to look at leadership and to differentiate among the theories and to differentiate leadership from management. And I think there are some significant differences. And the point I make about that is that companies and organizations, they don't hire leaders as leaders, okay? What they need somebody to manage the bottom line stuff, staff, and so forth. I'm getting some interference. I'm not sure from where.
I'm going to mute just in case it's me.
Oh, thank you. It may have been Brandy. I don't know. But it's gone now. In any case, I wanted to make the point that organizations hire managers and hope that they have leadership ability. They rarely hire a leader just to be a leader, to be the inspirer or the other characteristics, to be the charismatic one. They give people responsibilities and expect them to carry it out and expect them to exhibit leadership traits. I'm not going to go through the leadership theories. There are really too many. But I think the reading covers many of them pretty well and describes the theories, and you can see the differences between them. If you have specific questions about any leadership theory, I'd be glad to discuss it with you. If not, the next objective is analyze the leadership function within the management role. This gets a little bit into what I was talking about just a minute ago regarding organizations hiring managers with managerial bottom line responsibility and expecting them to exhibit leadership behaviors. So that's right. They don't want just a caretaker. They want somebody to inspire. Unfortunately, people typically get hired into management positions not because they exhibit management or leadership traits, although that's true sometimes, but usually because they excel at a non-managerial set of duties. You know, a great IT person, can just program the world, gets bumped up into a management position because of her expertise with the keyboard and understanding code. But that's a lot different than understanding people. And unless they have that proclivity, they may or may not do well. Companies typically are very cheap when it comes to training as well. Some, the better ones, will promote people and send them to managing, and leadership type courses, which can be very helpful. Or they do a lot of hands-on training with mentorships or whatnot, internal mentorships. That can also be helpful. But getting somebody who hasn't been a manager to suddenly become a manager and then a leader on top of it is a tall order. Some don't do so well. And I am one who, when I was thrust into a leadership role in my early 20s as a Pizza Hut restaurant manager, and then a little bit later as an Army officer, I had mixed results. I wish I'd understood a good deal more about leadership and management at that time. I did get some training, especially in the Army, but even so, I wish I had a mentor, somebody who could just say, take me aside and see how I'm doing and try to get me to a better place in terms of my skills and understanding of what managers do and what leaders do and the difference between them and between different management styles. I didn't mean this to go all autobiographical. Any questions about or comments about the week 4 objectives?
Hearing your experience is good, and I relate to some of that. I started out in my 20s as well, and when I took over a supervisory position, and I kind of had to fumble my way through and learn, as I went along, and I made horrible mistakes. I reflect on some of that stuff and think, how much I've evolved over the years in my style of management, and it still is. It's a learning, a process, definitely. Try to find ways to improve, to inspire, and try to motivate people without, the punishment system or the power position and being a threat or something of that sort. If you understand my meaning, and
Oh yeah.
I remember starting out, but back then I remember I yelled at guys, I thought that was the right thing to do, and I reflect on that stuff. I feel bad, about it, and at the same time, there's situations that you might find yourself in where you have to be stern with people, but I don't think it's ever necessary to lose it and get angry, and that's how I learned as I went along, and I took classes over the years too, but starting out, I wasn't so good.
No, I can understand that well. And I've had to chew people out. I don't feel bad about it because the ones that I chewed out, as far as I can remember, I didn't lose my temper. I've never been that vulgar of a person, and so I didn't curse them or belittle them so much, but rather sought to correct their behavior in a stern way. Even so, I probably would do it differently now. Somebody else is with us. Talona is with us. Welcome, Talona. Can you unmute yourself and say hello? I'm showing that you're muted, Talona. Do you see a button on the bottom like a microphone with a line through it? Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Well, I'm very glad you could join us. Very glad indeed. We are into the presentation. Did you get an opportunity to view the PowerPoint presentation, Talona, or John or Brandy?
Not at this time, no.
Well, that's all right.
I looked it over lightly.
It's there for you, and you can go through it. But I'm going to go through it now, and we're on page 3 or something like that. And we're talking about course objectives. John and I were musing about our experience as managers in our 20s and some of the mistakes that we made. And looking back, John, I wanted to make the point that the greatest thing that I've learned in managing, and I've managed hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, is to get input. When I was a young manager, I didn't seek or take input very well. Especially as an Army officer, you're kind of there to, I won't say know it all, but to be able to make the decisions right away and that they be correct decisions. Well, that just doesn't work too well. And I made my share of mistakes, some of them serious, none that related to anybody getting hurt or dying, thankfully. But I've made some bad mistakes. So the biggest thing I've learned as a manager and a leader over the years is to get input. And you'll see that in my postings. I usually talk about, getting consensus or getting input from people or letting them be part of the decision process. To me, it's very important.
Agreed. Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to go on unless there are questions about the course objectives for week 4. Okay, we're going to talk about our assignment for week 4. Brandy and I talked a little bit about that before you, John, you and Talona joined us. So, an examination of leadership approaches. You're going to look at different theories and you're going to explore and compare them in a paper of 800 to 1100 words, moderate length. And I made the point, Talona, to John and to Brandy, that you would be well served by going with the outline, and I hope you can see that. Can you see this, Talona? The week 4 instructions, basically, for the week 4 paper?
Yes, I did take note of that too.
Great. Well, the point I made, and it was at Brandy's suggestion actually, was that you would do well to follow this outline in doing your paper. Start here and end up here. And that way it's easy for you to put together, it's logical, and it's easy for me to grade. Now, if someone doesn't do it that way, it doesn't mean I'm going to grade them down, but I've got to, in my grading, I'll look for all these elements. Any of you have any questions about the week 4 paper?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay. Well, I mentioned that it's going to the plagiarism checker last week, and that is my plan. And I don't have a hard and fast standard. If I'm seeing, but basically, if I'm seeing non-original content, which the plagiarism checker will show me, of around 30% or higher, I'm going to wonder why someone's relying that much on sources rather than doing, you know, their own writing and their own work. My feeling is that your sources, and you're going to have sources in your paper, of course, but your sources, you should make the points and use the sources to validate or verify, substantiate your points, rather than have the sources make the points for you. So yeah, if it's 50% or something like that, that's not going to be acceptable. I don't want to belabor the point. That makes sense, I hope, to everyone. If not, please, let's discuss.
It makes sense. May I add?
Yes.
You know, you can go to the library and you can submit your paper to the plagiarism checker there.
Yes.
And then you can review it. You know, from there it'll kind of point out if there's anything that is questionable, and at that point you can adjust it. It helps you kind of, you know, pinpoint if there's anything that, you know, is considered, you know, not properly cited or quoted, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So, you know, that saves time for the teacher as well, you know. And if you want, if you know, some students, I know I've heard a lot of feedback over the years of doing this, you know, that there's been like confusion as to what's considered plagiarism, et cetera. And that's one way. That's a useful tool, I guess, to kind of help, you know, find if there's anything in your paper that's questionable.
Yes, I think so. It is very useful, and it's fairly user friendly. I don't have any trouble navigating it myself. I hope my students don't. But that, and I want to go to week 5, since I've got you guys here, just to look at that week 5 assignment. And I think I mentioned that this is a new version of the course, so I'm not that familiar with the assignments. Organizational metrics analysis. This looks like my own assignment, so I'm very familiar with that. This is another worksheet assignment. Week 6, Hewlett-Packard case study analysis. Let's look at this. You're going to have some questions from the case study. I'm looking at these because I'm not sure in myself if I'm going to submit these to the plagiarism checker. Worksheets I don't typically, which is why I haven't in earlier assignments. But I just don't know about week 6. It's possible I will submit them for week 6. It's not for, you know, what, gee, can I slack off this time? It's I want to do what's appropriate, and sometimes the worksheets kind of require you to get heavy duty into quoting your resources. A paper's different. Does that make sense? Hope so.
Yes.
Okay, back to the presentation then. That's all I have for you formally. What would you guys like to discuss now? Anything on your mind? How's things going so far? We're into week 4. We're well over half of the class, so I hope you're getting out of it what was intended, and that it'll serve as a good background for future courses for you. You won't know that till you take the courses, I understand.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's been a nice change from the other program I was in, you know. And
which was what,
fine.
John?
Psychology.
I see.
Yeah, I finished a bachelor's in psych last October. I originally started out in business, took some business courses early on, and then went into the psych program for a little while. And here we are again, put this MBA on, you know, kind of tie everything I have together.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm enjoying your program definitely. So far.
That's great. Well, as I say when I close the other sessions, just because we close the session doesn't mean I'm not available to answer questions. I certainly am. It's just that the public forum can be very helpful to people. So I don't want to close prematurely if there's anything that you guys would like to discuss. Talona, are you good?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Great. Brandy?
I am good.
Okay. John, anything for
All
the good
set.
of the order?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I bid you good evening, you guys. Thanks for attending. And you'll see probably, maybe tonight, I'm not sure, by tomorrow for sure, the recording of the session posted, and then the question or questions, I haven't decided and I haven't written them yet, that if you respond to them, you get half credit for week 4's participation. So with that, I'm going to get out of my desktop, and I want to wish you guys a very good evening. Thanks for attending.
You as well.
Good night.
Hope you come back
Thank you.
next week.
Good night.
Good night.